Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Grav, aka Gravite, and for my first introduction of the Sportsnet YouTube channel, I wanted to rank my top 10 NHL teams heading into this All-Star break. Now, it is a great situation because almost every team is around that 40-game threshold, which gives us a great sample size on every NHL team. But who do I see as the best NHL teams right now, and does your favorite NHL team make today's top 10? Watch till the end for the complete list, and make sure to hit that subscribe button on this Sportsnet YouTube channel for the best highlights and best sports coverage out there. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, to start off today's list at the number 10 spot, the 10th best NHL team, there are three teams in my opinion that have a strong case for this spot. The Minnesota Wild, the Boston Bruins, and the Nashville Predators all are extremely close in my opinion, and this was actually probably the hardest position to actually nail down. But in the end, coming in at number 10, the Minnesota Wild barely edged out everybody else. To me, when it comes to Minnesota, right now they're first in the wild card race, getting a 24-10-3 record. They have a lot of games to make up though, and I feel like they'll likely catch some steam. Kirill Kaprizov, Zuccarello are having great seasons as expected, but Ryan Hartman rocking an 18-goal season has been extremely underrated. To me, the biggest question though comes in the goaltending. Cam Talbot's been rather inconsistent with a .909 save percentage. Meanwhile, Kaapo Kähkönen in 14 games, he has a .922 save percentage. We'll likely see Kähkönen get some more responsibility, and he could also end up as a starter by the time the season's done. Now, moving on to number 9, to a team that's been extremely hot as of late, I want to move on to the St. Louis Blues. The 9th best team in the NHL right now, in my opinion, is a really fascinating one because I feel like the Blues are playing much differently than they have in the past. You see guys like Jordan Kyrou truly kind of transforming that team offensively. You're seeing Vladimir Tarasenko get back to true form, but a lot of depth that really hasn't been there since they won the Stanley Cup. Their defense has been solid, but the goaltending, just like Minnesota, has been a huge question mark. Binnington started off well, but has gotten a lot colder over the past month, and we've seen Ville Husso, after a really poor season last year, come up and potentially be St. Louis's starter. He's had a great last few games, and that'll be another interesting story to keep an eye on. But Husso has been fantastic for them, and no matter who they're playing, the Blues are a top 10 team and have been proving it on a consistent basis as of late. Now let's move on to the 8th spot here on the 8th best NHL team, and this is a team that, in my opinion, could maybe find themselves outside the top 10 in a few weeks' time, but I still have quite a bit of confidence in them, and that is the Washington Capitals. To me, with the Caps, they're right now first in the wildcard race, just like the Minnesota Wild. That Metro is absolutely stacked though, so we'll give them a little bit of a break here. The big thing that stands out to me is just how valuable Alex Ovechkin has been. At 36 years old, he's among the NHL leaders in points, and for the Capitals, 21% of their goals have come from Ovechkin, which is insane to think about. To me, though, the biggest question, just like some other teams on this list, is the goaltending. Although Zach Fucale, when he has played, has been a revelation. With Samsonov, he's a .903 save percentage right now. With Vanacek, a .909 save percentage. Not good enough for Washington, especially if they're going to want to compete for the Stanley Cup. But now we're going to move on to the number 7 spot and the 7th best NHL team. And at this spot, I'm going to have a team that is kind of all over the place right now, but still overall has been playing some great hockey in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, although their past couple weeks have not been as successful, I feel like with the Leafs, one of the biggest things I've noticed from them is the great performances of some of their depth scorers. Michael Bunting, who I thought could be a really good under-the-radar pickup in this last offseason, has been a revelation and even better than anybody would have expected. Wayne Simmons has been insane so far this year, as well as other players like Ilya Mikheyev that have been really picking up the slack as of late and putting in some great depth goals for them. Obviously, Matthews is the best American, one of the best players in the entire league. Mitch Marner has been really good over the last month, and Jack Campbell has been playing some of the best hockey he's ever played. I feel like with Toronto, obviously, we all know the playoffs is what matters for them right now, but so far, it's been so good for them this season. Now, we're going to move on to number 6 and the 6th best NHL team, and I'm just going to come out flat and say it. Let's talk about them New York Rangers, shall we? Now, I know I'm going to give the credit to the Rangers, even though a lot of their weaknesses have been kind of masked by Igor Shesterkin's unbelievable Vezina Trophy campaign so far, I still want to give some credit where it is due. I mean, Chris Kreider, for one, leading the NHL in goal scoring. Raise your hand if you saw that coming. You did not see that coming. Stop raising your hand. It did not happen. But other players have been key for them, like Adam Fox, like Igor Shesterkin, as I mentioned. One thing that I've really noticed with this team, though, is how the Rangers trading Buchnevich in the offseason gave more of a spotlight to Lafreniere and Kakko to potentially have career years offensively. That has not happened, to say the least, but the big guys are truly carrying the load for the Rangers, which, considering how much they're paying Zibanejad, Panarin, Chris Kreider, is how it should be. But it will be interesting to see how the Rangers are able to rebound in this second half. So far, though, some great hockey being played at MSG so far this year. But now we enter the top 5, and this is where we truly get to the creme de la crop of the NHL teams. Sorry about that. But now we're going to go inside the top 5, and starting at number 5, I'm going to go to a team that still somehow is underrated at this point in the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, to me, one of the biggest things for the Penguins has been their health and lack thereof. Guys like Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Brian Rust have missed significant time with this Penguins team, yet they've not just stayed afloat, they have been amazing, and a lot of that is because of Mike Sullivan's amazing system there, and also Tristan Jarry being one of the most underrated goaltenders in the league this year. Yeah, I know, it is weird, but the Penguins have been playing some great hockey while missing a bunch of their stars at a lot of points throughout this season. Really big heads up to that Penguins coaching staff that does not get enough credit for how consistent they are. Now, the playoffs are another thing and another beast the Penguins have not really been all that great in the past couple of years, but so far this regular season, they're still here, and they're still an amazing hockey team. But now we're going to move on to number 4 and move on to a team that's had some decent success over the past couple of years in the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if you've heard of them. They've been doing all right for themselves and continue to have that happen so far this year. To me, when it comes to Tampa, they're kind of in a similar situation to Pittsburgh a little bit, where they've had some of their stars missing some significant time. Nikita Kucherov to start the season, Brayden Point for a couple weeks there. Were pretty big missing options on that forward group, but to me, there's been some big, amazing years. Steven Stamkos has been so consistent offensively. Victor Hedman, low-key, should be back in the Norris Trophy conversation, even though I think he was a little bit overrated last season. He has been legitimately franchise level so far this year, and Andre Vasilevsky, no more needs to be said about that guy, who is the best goaltender in the NHL and has been the most consistent one at that. Once again, Tampa is good, but I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Now, one thing I also wanted to mention was that third line that was gutted in this offseason, but you've had players like Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, you've had great players being able to kind of fill those roles, which has been so important to Tampa's success. Now, getting inside the top 3 in the power rankings, we're going to go to number 3, and I feel like this is where the Carolina Hurricanes are going to place. Now, in a lot of ways, I feel like everything has kind of gone right for Carolina so far this year. The biggest concern by a humongous margin I had coming into this year was the goaltending. Were Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta gonna get past their injury-prone past? And that has been a resounding yes so far this year. The defense has been spectacular, but I don't think anybody's really surprised by that. One big part of this Canes offense, though, that I think has been huge has been the amazing season of Seth Jarvis. I don't think he's getting enough credit, maybe because he's not getting as many points as a Raymond or a Zegras, but he has been so energetic and such a dynamic force for the Canes. I'm not really too surprised. He's been that way since the WHL, but he's been such a great option for this Canes team throughout the entire season. But now getting us inside the top 2, we have 2 teams left here that are fighting for that number 1 spot, the Colorado Avalanche and the Florida Panthers. And before this year, that was actually my Stanley Cup prediction. We'll see if that actually happens, but in my opinion, these are the 2 strongest teams in the NHL right now, but one team has to be number 2. And coming into the second spot and the second best NHL team, I have the Florida Panthers. Now, when I was making this list a couple days back, I actually had the Panthers number 1, but that loss versus the Kraken, I think, just barely put them at second place. Still, though, Sergei Bobrovsky has been a revelation so far this year. The forward group on every single line is just so fun to watch. You're seeing Aaron Ekblad have a fantastic season and not get enough credit. To me, of Florida, though, every single part of them is working right now, and I could also see them adding quite a bit at this year's NHL trade deadline. But now we can officially get into the number 1 spot and the best team in the entire National Hockey League. And yes, I do have to say it, the Montreal Canadiens. No, I'm sorry, I can't even do The Colorado Avalanche are the best team in the NHL, and if producer Drew did exist, I think he'd probably agree with this pick. But to me, the Avs are the most dominant team in the NHL right now, and it's come with pretty okay goaltending. They haven't had much success with Kemper until recently, which I think just makes this Avalanche run even more impressive. But Nazem Kadri is having a career year to end all career years. Mikko Rantanen has been as good as ever. Nathan MacKinnon is Nathan MacKinnon. Devon Toews is 3 points above a point per game, which is insane to me. And Cale Makar has been as good as he has ever been. To me, with this Avalanche team, they'll likely add a lot of the trade deadline, just like Florida. But even right now, they are the best team in the NHL and are the #1 team heading into the NHL All-Star break. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe to the Sportsnet YouTube channel, and hit that notification bell. Comment down below, what do you agree and disagree with my rankings, and what would your top 10 NHL teams be? Let me know also in the comments if you guys want to see this series continue. Hopefully we can do more of them in the future. With that, though, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.